এইখানে কোনো সব পশ্চিম দক্ষিণ বুঝতে পারবি না, বুঝলি? হ্যাঁ, সূর্য যদি থাকে তাহলে বুঝতে পারবি, নাহলে এখানে বুঝতে পারবি না। এই জায়গাটা এমনই জায়গা। এখন মহিলা থেকে হাঁটা পথে আসতাম, একই রাস্তা। এখন ওইখান থেকে হাঁটা পথে আসতাম, এখানে। হ্যাঁ, হাঁটা পথে আসতাম। কোনখান থেকে? আমাদের গ্রাম থেকে বেড়াতে মারাতে আসলে সকালে চলে আসতাম, বুঝলিস? একটু খেয়ে দিয়ে।
So we're here in Sri Koladeep Dham of Sri Navadip Dham at the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, the home of pure devotion, in front of the temple of love and affection, the Samadhi Mandir of our beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj. Over the course of the last year, this temple has manifested following Srila Govinda Maharaj's entrance into Samadhi and his departure from this world. Samadhi means samyak sthiti, or the way Srila Govinda Maharaj explains it, when someone is fully present in conscious meditation, when someone's whole existence becomes entirely absorbed in meditation, that is known as samadhi. There's 5 stages of approach to samadhi described in the scriptures by our Guru Varga. The 5 stages are smaran, dharan, dhyan, anusmriti, samadhi. When someone's wholly absorbed in meditation upon all aspects of their object of worship without any trace of distraction, that is known as samadhi. So it's described that when a Mahapurush, when a topmost Vaishnava departs from this world, it's because the time came for them to wholly absorb themselves in the pastimes of the Lord and their service within those pastimes. So in this place, Srila Govinda Maharaj is residing in samadhi. Means he's living here, his form is here, existing fully in full consciousness in samadhi. So behind us at the temple, Srila Govinda Maharaj's deity form is there sitting upon the altar, and beneath that his form is in samadhi. And so it is his place of worship. He is sitting there and mercifully showing us this form under which we can continue to serve him, offer worship to him, and live under his divine glance. When you look at the roof of the temple, you'll see that it resembles the roof of the Samadhi Mandir of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu. So Srila Acharya Maharaj, whose tireless, miraculous service energy is the source of the manifestation of this beautiful temple, he personally felt inspired to model Srila Govinda Maharaj's Samadhi Mandir upon Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu's Samadhi Mandir, in order to show people that Srila Govinda Maharaj is a Rupanuga Acharya, or a living representative of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu, whose conception, whose teachings, whose life show the proper way to follow Srila Rupa Goswami's line. So his samadhi is shaped in this way to remind us all of our Guru Varga, our line of devotional practice. And the temple is known as the temple of love and affection, and this name was chosen by Srila Acharya Maharaj in consultation with Sripad Goswami Maharaj and other devotees. And it was, when we began to announce what the name would be, it was met with so much happiness and good reception. People felt, yes, this encapsulates the gist of Srila Govinda Maharaj's way of relating with his disciples and with the souls of this world. He had a remarkable capacity to touch people's hearts, to relate with them with love and affection. And in the Daita Dashakam of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he describes in his vision of his Gurudev a phrase, Vaikuntha Sneha Murti, or Sri Guru, as the personification of infinite affection, personification of supramundane, heart-melting affection. And he goes on, and in one shloka he writes very strongly, that upon coming in connection with the affectionate form of my Gurudev, the apparent affection present within matrimony, within friendship, within parenting, all these apparent types of affection I realize are like cheating, deception, exploitation. I've felt such what is generally heralded in the world as the finest things. I felt those things to become contemptible things upon coming into connection with the intense, heart-transforming affection of my Gurudev. Janakadika Vatsala Snigdha Param. His affection supersedes that of a father, of a mother, of a friend, of a spouse, of any type of relationship in this world. Because Guru is the direct via media of the Lord Himself, of the Lord's eternal servitors, and an infinite stream of divine affection is flowing between the heart of the disciple and the heart of the Guru, when the Guru is true and the disciple is sincere. So Srila Acharya Maharaj, so many other devotees, they all have their own personal experiences within their hearts of Srila Govinda Maharaj's divine affection, and therefore naturally felt inspired to describe his temple as the temple of love and affection, which implies he is the personification of those qualities, and in his connection, our lives have become filled with those qualities. And also, this term, love and affection, was a very frequent phrase that Srila Govinda Maharaj used and would present in his preaching. So it's also akin to his own way of speaking and relating with people. Also, you'll notice below the sign of where it says the Temple of Love and Affection, on the inner area of the temple, the Mat logo is there. And that logo was designed by Srila Govinda Maharaj himself, based on a shloka which compares the relationship of the Lord, the disciple, and the Guru to a lotus, the sun, and water, wherein the disciple is like a lotus, the Lord is like the sun, and the Guru is like the water. And as we know, a lotus is rooted in the mud beneath water, and when it has sufficient water, it can grow and flourish, and the sun's light can stimulate its development. But if the water is removed, then the lotus is burned and shriveled by the sun. So without the shelter of Guru, the disciple cannot serve the Lord, cannot progress towards the Lord properly. And to represent this idea, Srila Govinda Maharaj designed our Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat logo, and also through his divine life perfectly exemplified this principle of extreme chastity to Guru and a lifelong commitment to Gurvanugyata, or exclusive chaste service under the guidance of Guru. So we felt it was befitting to put the Mat logo there to show his own creation, and also indicate that he himself is like that most glorious lotus who bloomed in the affection of his Gurudev. And how it was that he bloomed, so to speak, we also included in some of the verses on the temple. In 1955, at the age of 26, Srila Govinda Maharaj composed a poem called Sarupud Bodhan, which means awakening one to one's true self, awakening the true self. And therein he describes, the chorus of the poem is, Ami Guru Das Nahi Anya. I am a servant of my Guru, nothing else. That is my only identification, my only purpose. And as a servant of my Guru, I will take up the duty as service to him of awakening the conditioned souls of this world to their true selves, to their true nature as eternal souls of servants of Krishna. And then in this poem he describes how he'll take the banner of divine love and drum up the kettle drums of universal conquest and flood the world with a Ganges of pure devotion, and within that Ganges bring a boat from Goloka Vrindavan and collect so many Aryans, so many un-Aryans, and so many Malechas, so many Western, so many Eastern, so many cultured persons, uncultured persons, all shapes and sizes of persons. After first, he is pulverizing the paths of karma and gyan, the pursuits of liberation and worldly enjoyment, pulverizing these things and erecting a palace of devotion. He'll invite people there, and then upon bringing so many Malechas, so many Aryans, so many persons from all walks of life, he'll board them aboard this boat to Goloka Vrindavan, and with the power that he descends to him by the mercy of his guru, he'll guide this boat, and he'll, with that power, cut across any obstacles presented by Maya, and in this way he will empty the world. He will leave this world devoid of people, having taken everyone to the spiritual world where they'll all realize their true self, identify with the same identification as eternal servants of the Lord, and relish the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, chanting Jai, Jai. And so he wrote this very grand poem at a very young age, prior to Srila Swami Maharaj's Western preaching or any of these things, at the age of 25, saying, by the mercy of my Guru, for the satisfaction of my Guru, I'll preach all over this world. I'll take innumerable souls back to the spiritual world. I'll empty this world. I'll take everyone in a boat to the Loka Vrindavan. And now, we're reflecting on his divine life and seeing, 55 years later, how this has come to pass, how what he described in his young age has come to pass. On the order of his guru, he took up the worldwide preaching of this line and bestowed his own love and affection upon so many souls, and we can say liberated so many from material existence and gave them the opportunity to return to the spiritual world through awakening their true self. So we engraved this poem on the temple, and this, among many other things, there are 187 verses engraved on the temple, and the criterion by which they were chosen was twofold. Primarily, verses that Srila Govinda Maharaj himself relished, had special attachment for, or had personally revealed special understanding of, and also verses that were prominent in his preaching or had played pivotal roles in his own life, as well as some of his own poetry. And also one other significant was one poem of Srila Acharya Maharaj about Srila Govinda Maharaj. On the temple of union and separation, Srila Govinda Maharaj wrote one poem called the Sri Guru Prashasti, which is a 34-line, 14-syllable couplet poem describing you could say, like a biographical description of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's life. And he wrote this poem at the insistence of Rama Didi, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's sister, around the time of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's disappearance. And Srila Acharya Maharaj, some years ago, also wrote a long biographical poem about Srila Govinda Maharaj in a very similar vein. And one year on Vyas Puja, he presented this poem to Srila Govinda Maharaj, and Srila Govinda Maharaj very happily received that poem and laughed and said, where did you get time to write such a long poem? And I was very satisfied by the poem. And this was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And then when we were in the process of engraving verses on the temple, when Srila Acharya Maharaj mentioned that he'd written this poem, we naturally requested him, please, can we include this on the temple? And he laughed and he said, yes, we can do that, but first it is necessary to find the poem. I'm not sure what's happened to any copy of it. And he thought maybe it had been included in a Vyas Puja offering book, and we looked in a few, but we weren't able to find it. And over the course of about a month, the engraving was going on, and we were choosing which places, which verses would go, and trying to plan out to make sure we had plenty of room, but we saved one whole wall to be sure we had space for this poem. And gradually it came to the point where all the rest of the engraving had been done, and it was time that this is the last wall that had to be done. And so I tried to very gently make Srila Church aware of this fact that if we were going to put the poem on the temple, we needed it now. And then he said, oh, well, and we'll have to find it immediately. So then he took myself and Anandamoy Prabhu and Haridas Prabhu, and we went in his office and we spent maybe 2 hours searching through his old bags of receipts and papers and magazines and so many old things, trying to find some paper with this poem on it. We didn't know what it looked or what type of paper or handwritten or what, and we searched and we searched, and after maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, Haridas Prabhu had started going through a bag of papers that I had already gone through. And I said, oh, you don't need to go through that one. I already went through that one. And he said, no, it's okay. I'll just go through it again. And as he went through it, then and as he was going through it, Srila Charjamars looked over his shoulder and said, wait, what is this? What is this? And there in that bag was some ripped papers, and he found half the poem on 2 old pieces of Mott stationery with some. He found half the poem written, and I immediately when I saw, I said, "Oh man, I already went through that bag. I totally missed it." But so I felt, despite my, foolishness, it has come to light. But it was only half, and then I remember, and then we could see only half of it was there. Srila Charger, he looked at me kind of like, well, what are we going to do with this? And then I said, well, I'm not sure, and so we went back to his veranda with kind of a mixed feeling of not sure what was going to happen. And then I remember noticing that on the paper it was from some Mott stationery. So I said, can I see the paper one more time? And then I looked, and it had a old Mott stationery, and on there said something about from 1997. So then I thought, well, maybe if it was written in 1997, maybe it was included in the 1997 Vyas Puja offering book. Maybe it's there. So I thought this in my mind. I didn't say anything, but I'll check, So then later I went up in the, up just inside the Mridanga there of the Temple of Union and Separation, just below the Mridanga, there's a storeroom with a number of old publications of the Mott. And I went looking through and found the 1997 Vyas Puja offering book, and as I went through it, found the poem and was amazed, the full-length poem. And so I ran from here over to the veranda, and Srila Charjamars was meeting with a couple of lawyers or official men, and I was so excited. I just ran in and I was, Maharaj, look at this! And he gave me this look like, what are you doing? And then I just smiled, and then as soon as he saw what it was, he just gave them a hand gesture, like, okay, wait, and then reading the poem, and yes, and very happy to find it, and then I said, okay, so I'll immediately send it to the engravers, and then in the last moment it was included on the temple. So also Srila Govinda Maharaj's temple has a long biographical work describing his life and his pastimes. And another few other factors about the temple. One, you'll see that it's almost entirely all white, and this was requested by Srila Govinda Maharaj himself. He personally, before his passing, said he requested this, and he also requested that his temple be smaller than Srila Sridhar Maharaj, out of his indomitable mood as an eternal servitor of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He always wanted to be shown as an assistant or a follower. So out of recognition of Srila Govinda Maharaj's heart, his temple was made in this smaller alternate style. and is with all the marble came from Australia actually, and is as white, it's the whitest marble we've ever seen. And also the some of the painting of the letters and the name there is in a particular shade of blue. Srila Govinda Maharaj had a favorite shade of blue which he called peacock blue, or the blue that is found on the neck and collar of a peacock. And this blue was used on the Sadashiv Gangadhar temple, the Giriraj Govardhan temple in Govindakund, and is also on the borders of the buildings here in the Navadip Mat. So Sripad Goswami Maharaj said, this is the blue we got to use. This is Govinda Maharaj's blue. So he said, try to explain to him in Bengali, it's got to be this blue. So when the painters came, I did my best to say, it's got to match this type of blue. And the painter's like, yes, yes, yes. I said, no, not yes, 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 but it has to exactly match this blue. And I made it very clear, and finally the person was maybe a little ruffled by how direct I was being. And he said, those temples, I also painted those temples. I know what color blue it is. And I said, oh, okay. And he says, it's Oxford blue. It's the blue from Oxford University. That blue, you can buy it anywhere. I know what type of blue that is. So, okay. So Srila Govinda Maharaj's peacock blue turns out to be Oxford blue. So we acquired that paint, and his name and other things are painted in that blue. So it's the white that he requested, accompanied by his favorite color, peacock blue. So in this way, Srila Govinda Maharaj's deity form is present here in Sri Navadip Dham in his temple of love and affection. And once, in the years shortly after Srila Sridhar Maharaj disappeared, we heard one recording. One devotee asked Srila Govinda Maharaj that around the time that the temple of union and separation was made, and asked, we are seeing Srila Sridhar Maharaj is now here meditating in samadhi, but yet we also are taught that the Sri Guru is always with the disciple wherever he is. So how can we understand this? Where is the presence of Srila Sridhar Maharaj now? And Srila Govinda Maharaj answered, he said, yes, what you are saying is correct. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is here in Navadip, meditating in his abode of bhajan. And Srila Govinda Maharaj described that when Srila Sridhar Maharaj disappeared, the first time he came before the deities, following Srila Sridhar Maharaj's disappearance, when he had darshan of the deities that day, he never saw the deities more beautiful, more radiant, more joyful than on that day when Srila Sridhar Maharaj had returned to them, had rejoined their eternal pastimes. So we can always think that Srila Sridhar Maharaj and now Srila Govinda Maharaj, they're here meditating and engaged in their eternal spiritual forms and the eternal pastimes of the Lord. But Srila Govinda Maharaj went on and he said, but Guru's form is always transcendental and he can be in many places at once. So he said, it is true, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is here meditating in samadhi, but also wherever we see the presence of Guru Maharaj's disciples, the presence of Guru Maharaj's glories being chanted, the service of Guru Maharaj going on, wherever we see Guru Maharaj's paraphernalia, any of these things, we are feeling the presence of Guru Maharaj. And he said that is the real vision of the disciple, that the Guru is always with them. Wherever they go, wherever they come in connection with those who have faith in that Guru, they feel the presence of Guru. So, in the scriptures, the Lord says to Narada Muni, Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridayena cha yatra gayanti mad bhakta tatra tishtami Narada. The Lord says, I do not actually reside in Vaikuntha or in the heart of meditative yogis, but wherever my devotees are chanting my glories, that is where I reside, Narada. So we can think, wherever the service of Srila Govinda Maharaj and Srila Sridhar Maharaj is going on, wherever their glories are being sung, wherever their persons are faithfully engaged in serving them, and here, especially in their particular abode of service and bhajan, the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat of Navadip, they are eternally present and giving guidance, protection and nourishment to the hearts of all their faithful followers. So, to continue our endeavor of eternal service to their lotus feet, we are here, we are in the association of devotees under the guidance of Srila Acharya Maharaj, our other Acharyas, doing our best to see that his temple is manifest in a glorious way, the worship goes on in a glorious way, and that his conception is preserved and maintained and understood within our community and propagated to the fortunate souls of this world. And Srila Govinda Maharaj also, in his answer to that devotee, he said, and if Guru Maharaj were here now, if he came and joined with us the way we are speaking, he would be so happy to see the ongoing service, to see the devotees proceeding with faith according to his line and conception. He would be so happy, he would smile to see these things going on. So we can only pray that by our continued service to Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj and proceeding with faith and appreciation and chastity to the conception and teachings of Srila Govinda Maharaj, that he will also be pleased with us, and we will also have some prospect in our spiritual life thereby.